star with a little flying cars, but I feel like I already know this place. It was the last time our eyes collided. I wish that I could see your face again. I think I fell in love with an alien. I wish that I could see your face again. I think I fell in love with an alien. Everything feels so right. The trees grow backwards and the rain falls upside down. I hate to see her cry, but I have to say goodbye. And maybe you come visit me on Earth. Yesterday I fell asleep at night. I woke up in a spaceship traveling at the speed of light. Everything feels so misplaced. The sky is at my feet and the ground above my head. I'm landing on a star with little flying cars, but I feel like I already know this place. It was the first time our eyes collided. I wish that I could see your face again. I think I fell in love with an alien. I wish that I could see her face again. I think I fell in love with an alien. She showed me how to talk without words.
Dear friends, welcome to Spacefaring Civilization, where us filmmakers help each other create optimistic sci-fi and inspire a better future. Hi, how are you today? So today we're going to be a little bit relaxed and just talk about what inspires us. So if you're on YouTube, just comment on the chat on the right-hand side, and I'll see it and I'll announce it, and tell us what inspires you in terms of optimistic sci-fi, or just life in general. What sticks in your mind that inspires you to take action to make things a better life? It doesn't have to be a huge thing, just something small. Just being inspired to look into space exploration, things like that. So I'm going to share with you what what inspires me, both in terms of optimistic sci-fi and also what I believe in, so my experiences have been, things like that. Also, if you're on Facebook, so I'm streaming live both on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're on Facebook, just type in the comment below the live stream. So as you watch the live stream, you can type in and I'll see your questions or comments. So yeah, so as you log in, just give me a wave, and I'll see you. So okay, I'll see Emilia has just signed in. Hey Emilia, how are you? So yeah, so I'll just go through what inspires me in terms of optimistic science fiction. So obviously the Star Trek and Babylon 5, so those are the a classic series that has been a big influence in my life, but also my faith. So I'm part of the Baha'i faith. That also inspires me with its core message of unity and peace and human family, one human family. But what we have in common in terms of optimistic science fiction is obviously science. So science is very key inspiration to us as optimistic science fiction filmmakers. So where do we get our inspirations from? So there's a YouTube channel that I've been following for a while, and I recommend that you check it out. It's called Tomorrow. It's TMRO. So it's a bunch of scientists and SpaceX employees who do regular shows. So they do live shows, but also space enthusiasts from around the world who join them as well once in a while. And they do wonderful coverage of the space technology, so space launches, space technologies, astrophysics, astronomy, things like that. So it's called 2MRO. Just let me go to my sort of iPhone, and I'll show it to you. So if you go to YouTube and do a search for TMRO, it should come up. Yep, it's them. So I'll see if I can play their. Yeah, I'll play their kind of their trailer, which I believe is this one, the one that says 2020 tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to mute my mic for a second and come back to you in a while. Okay, that wasn't it. It was a very short one. Okay, anyway, that's the YouTube channel, and these are some of the examples of videos that they release. So they talk about different things, so not just NASA, but also about some of the space technologies, space sciences that are happening from around the world. NASA is obviously one of the biggest inspiration because they are from America, but also they've talked about the space agency, Australian Space Agency, opening up just recently, not too long ago, and also some of the major launches that have happened, particularly in the private sector as well, like SpaceX and Blue Origin. So that's one space science-based channel that I recommend. I'm not sure if they've got an equivalent a Facebook group or a page. They probably do. It's just a matter of just searching for it. So that's one thing that really inspires me. Every time I watch it, I get lots of wonderful ideas for stories and whatnot. So Emilia, since you've joined, what inspires you? What's your what inspires you to take action in terms of building a better future? Again, it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a very little thing. So I'll keep checking to see who else has logged in. So I'll move on to some of the other channels that inspires me. So obviously there are many sources that can inspire us. So one cool thing that sticks into my mind is a particular quote from Babylon 5. So when in the story, so if you haven't watched Babylon 5, I really recommend you watch it. It is an awesome optimistic sci-fi. even though it's like 20 years old, it still is very good. I recommend you watch it. So this is Jakar. He's just written the human rights for the international, sorry, not the international, the space, the alliance, the Galactic Alliance. I forgot what it was exactly called. So they were just starting up, and they were writing their human rights or alien rights, or whatever you want to call it. And he wrote this beautiful quote that I'm just going to play for you now. Again, let me go back to my mobile, and I'll play you Jakar's "We Are One." So this is the title of the quote.
John, what are you doing out there?
I couldn't sleep. Just kept running it all through my head. If we're doing the right thing. I mean, we hardly know these in Feely.
I understand. What is that?
It looks like the opening of Jakar's Declaration of Principles. I guess he finished revising it.
Read it to me.
Oh, I'm not nearly as good a speaker as Jakar is.
Read it.
The universe speaks in many languages, but only one voice. The language is not Narn, or human, or Centauri, or Gaeum, or Minbari. It speaks in the language of hope.
It speaks in the language of trust. It speaks in the language of strength and the language of compassion. It is the language of the heart and the language of the soul. But always it is the same voice. It is the voice of our ancestors speaking through us, and the voice of our inheritors waiting to be born. It is the small, still voice that says, we are one. No matter the blood, no matter the skin, no matter the world, no matter the star, we are one. No matter the pain, no matter the darkness, no matter the loss, no matter the fear, we are one. Here, gathered together in common cause, we agree to recognize this singular truth and this singular rule, that we must be kind to one another.
Because each voice enriches us and ennobles us, and each voice lost diminishes us. We are the voice of the universe, the soul of creation, the fire that will light the way to a better future. We are one.
We are one.
Oh wow, what a what a wonderful quote that was. It gives me goosebumps every time. So Emilia just wrote, welcome Marco, by the way, welcome to the live stream. Also Marco, what inspires you, let me know and I'll read it out. So Emilia just wrote, I would have to say I love stories of people or critters, I love that addition, coming together to overcome a conflict. That's wonderful. She also wrote, it's a hope for the future, the things we can accomplish together. And again, that's a wonderful, wonderful inspiration. That is great. I think that's wonderful. Thanks, Emilia. Thanks for your thoughts. Yeah, so let's also look at, so it's good that we get inspired, and that's a good thing. That's wonderful. But also, what action can we take to make our world or our surroundings a better place? Again, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Just picking up rubbish from the street. It's a wonderful thing. It's things like that. But I think one of the greatest thing that we have is our ability to learn. So learning and gaining knowledge is a wonderful thing. We do not stop learning. We always learn. So that's why I love these social media and YouTube channel. There are lots and lots of wonderful things that we can learn from. Obviously, there's a lot of rubbish there as well. But yeah, just looking at being optimistic and looking at the positive side of things, there are lots and lots of wonderful things there that we can take and see. So talking about YouTube channels, there's one YouTube channel that you might know or may not know. It's called Dust. So if you haven't checked out Dust yet, I totally recommend it. It's kind of a, you could say it's a streaming service for independent science fiction films. Short films, experimental, web series, or even feature films. So they've been doing great. So they've got a huge library so far, and they do have a playlist that is specific to optimistic sci-fi. It's not called optimistic sci-fi. Just let me go through it. Just let me go to the screen again, and let's check out. So if you go to my YouTube channel, so if you go to Spacefaring Civilization, and I should say it's not just my channel, it's your channel as well. This is, so we're all in this together, as Amelia said, working together. Yes, working together. And then if you go to the channels, so I keep adding things that really inspire me, channels and places that really inspire me, and I add them there. So if you're looking for a channel to follow or inspire you, I recommend you check out there. So Dust is the second one down. So Create Sci-Fi is Anthony's YouTube channel. If you haven't watched my interview with him from last week, go check it out. He's a wonderful filmmaker, and he's got a bunch of tutorials in filmmaking in general, but science fiction filmmaking, making props, making sets. It is an awesome resource. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, I totally recommend you go and subscribe to his channel. But let's have a look at Dust. So if you go to Dust, I'll play the trailer, which should give you a little bit more idea what Dust is all about. And then I'll come back. So that was Dust. It's a wonderful YouTube channel. They've also got an associated website. So very similar to Spacefaring Civilization, except Spacefaring Civilization focuses on optimistic sci-fi. They basically they basically cover all science fiction, which is great to see. So if you love other types of science fiction, Dust is a very good place to get inspiration from. So whether you want to get ideas or you want to see just inspiring films that are not just in the main stream, not just in the theater, Dust is the place to go. So obviously, Spacefaring Civilization is also a place to go for optimistic sci-fi. Don't forget that one. Okay. Welcome, Mick and George. Thank you for joining us, guys. As with Mark and Amelia, let us know what inspires you in terms of optimistic science fiction or just life in general, and what you do in a small way to change our world for the better. Again, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. So let's check out the next channel that inspires me. Also, you can share with us which channels inspire you. So if there's a particular channel that I haven't covered or I don't know about, let us know. We'll check that one as well. We'll watch their trailers while we're live. Okay. So Dust, just going back to Dust, going to the playlist. So for the heart and mind is the optimistic playlist. So there's a bunch of wonderful optimistic sci-fi in there. So it's the second one down. Just be cautious if you're a little bit squeamish like me. There are a bunch of horror films in there as well. Just read the title, read the description, make sure it's the type of science fiction you want to actually watch. If you love all types of science fiction, then wonderful, go for it. So that is Dust. Let me go back to our list. So I'll go back to my screen again. So we go back to the channels. So Space Command. So Space Command is actually a series that's been developed by Mark Zickery. So Mark is a filmmaker. He's a writer, a producer, and with his wife. So his wife is also a producer of Space Command as well. So together they're developing this series. So one thing that they've done that is really inspiring is they've gone out and actually did crowdfunding. So they're developing the series themselves and then going to the networks to sell the series. It's not necessarily a bad model or there's other. It's a model that works for Mark and his team, and they do wonderful work. So they've done one episode, and they're filming the second episode as we speak. So in the new year, they're going to be doing an episode called Forgiveness, I think. So I'll have Mark. So I've asked Mark if I can interview him in Spacefaring Civilization, and he said yes. Woohoo! So wonderful. So we should see him in one of the live streams. So I'll interview him that one. So the next one in the list that I just want to quickly talk about is Soul Pancake. So to me, inspiration doesn't just come from optimistic sci-fi or just sciences. It also comes from my spirituality. So what I like about Soul Pancake is that it doesn't try to be preachy. So if that's your type of thing, if spirituality is also part of your inspiration, I recommend checking out Soul Pancake. They've got wonderful, heartwarming things, and not much science fiction in there, but yeah, like who knows? They might add in, because one of the creators is actually Rainn Wilson. So for those who are Star Trek fans, Rainn played the incarnation of Mudd. If you guys remember from the original series, Mudd was kind of a not a bad guy, but he was a bad guy. Yeah, okay. So he kind of so he was a trickster. He was a charlatan. He tried to trick the crew. So he plays the reincarnation of Mudd in Star Trek Discovery. So Rainn does. Sorry, Rainn Wilson. And so he also. Oh yeah. So what Rainn is known for is The Office. So he's. I forgot his character. If anybody knows the character that Rainn played in The Office, let me know. So he's one of the co-creators of Soul Pancake. Tomorrow I've already talked about. So again, if you want to learn about space sciences and space exploration, TMRO is the place to go. Mr. Sci-Fi is actually Mark Zickery's own channel where he talks about science fiction. Yeah, so he talks about science. So he's very knowledgeable in terms of science fiction, past, present, and what's coming up. In terms of books, comics, so he's been a fan of science fiction for a long time, and he's written for great shows like Star Trek, Twilight Zone. I'm not sure if he wrote for Outer Limits. He might have written for Outer Limits. So he's wrote for Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5, and a bunch of others, which he talks about in Mr. Sci-Fi, his channel as well. But the cool thing about Mr. Sci-Fi is actually he goes through the history of science fiction from the days of the early 1800s, where the current science fiction literature was birthed, so was started with the novelette Frankenstein, I believe. Who was the writer for that? Mary something. So yeah, so check out Mr. Sci-Fi. The next one on the list is Blender. So Blender is, so for those who are on the 3D animation side, Blender is an open source 3D modeler animator. So it rivals the big softwares like 3ds Max and what are the other ones? Marco, if you know the other ones, let me know. Okay, I can't remember the other ones at the moment. But Blender is wonderful. It's open source, and they've had these wonderful open source film projects where people actually develop animation film on Blender together. So again, Amelia, we're coming down to the together collaboration thing. So it's wonderful. So if you're interested in 3D animation, or even if you want to just play around, it's free to download. Go download it. You don't necessarily have to have a hefty computer, but if your computer is fast, it does help. It looks overwhelming at first, but if you just do simple tutorials, so if you go Blender tutorial, there should be a bunch of things that can help you out. Then the next couple of things, the next couple of channels that I've got in the list is Indie Mogul and Film Riot. Both of those channels are wonderful filmmaking resources, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, so both for actors. So Indie Mogul focuses mostly on the behind the camera side. Film Riot, mostly on the post-production side. But they both also have things like acting in front of the, or presenting in front of the camera, or acting in front of the camera as well. So that would be very useful for basically everybody who wants to do optimistic science fiction. There's a lot to learn. And the last one in the list, oh sorry, it's not the last one, but the second last one is Markham 3D. So this is one of our SFC members channel, Marco Matozevic. I hope I pronounced that right. Marco, sorry, mate. You got to tell me how that's pronounced one day. So that's Marco's own channel. He actually goes through how to make 3D models. I'm not sure if he uses Blender or not, but it does look like Blender that he's using. So check out his channel. He's doing some wonderful work. Hopefully he'll join us for the new feature film that we'll be working on in the new year. More about that later. And the last one is Star Talk. So that's basically another science-based channel with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So for those who've watched Cosmos, you would know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is. He's a physicist and a wonderful guy. He's a very funny guy. So he has his own, so it's actually a radio show, but he also records it as a YouTube video as well. So he invites people and he talks about space sciences and astronomy in a very simple way that we can understand, us normal people can understand. So it's a wonderful show. Go watch it. Actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson has a very awesome quote that it sticks in my mind. It says, "We are connected to each other chemically, to the earth, to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the universe atomically." So that's a wonderful quote, and it just, wow, it's a wow factor. It's an awesome quote. I love it. I love it. That's what inspires me, guys. Obviously, that's not the only thing that inspires me. So that's where I go to get my inspirations in terms of YouTube channel and social media. Obviously, the wonderful people who post in Spacefaring Civilization, they inspire me a lot. You can see the posts there. Just go check them out. If you've got something, please post there as well. So is there any questions? Anybody got any questions, or do you want to have a comment? What inspires you guys? By the way, I forgot to show you. This is a wonderful cup, Doctor Who cup that I got. It's one of those that where you pour hot water, it comes up with the actual pictures. So it's a wonderful thing. I don't know why I showed you that. I just thought it would be nice. So thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Mick. And thank you, George, for joining us. If you have any questions or any comments, leave in the comments below. So if you're on YouTube, you can just leave a comment in the comment section. Also in Facebook, you can leave a comment in the comment section. So one of the problems I have with Facebook is that I can't edit the live stream after when it finishes, but I can on YouTube. So I try and trim a little bit here and there, so you don't get the too much of the the fluff videos at the start and the beginning. So that's when I set it up. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Until next time, keep watching Optimistic Sci-Fi.
Yesterday I fell asleep at night. I woke up in a spaceship traveling at the speed of light. Everything feels so misplaced. The sky is at my feet and the ground above my head.